All right, so here was pressing day. I'm going to call this mediocre pressing day for me. Probably mostly just because I had a goal in mind and I didn't hit it. But to be fair, it wasn't like the best day to pick to have this goal. This is just me being kind of, willy nilly with I just want to hit every next PR and goal and all that kind of stuff. And I've been stringing together a lot of heavy training and, that's just not how it works. So sometimes you don't just get to will your way into the next strength or level or PR or whatever. So, I kind of wanted to hit 315 overhead. I've tried it before when I benched first. And so obviously that wasn't going to work because I was fatigued. So I thought maybe today doing barbell first would make it easier. So, warmed up. Warm-ups felt fine. I was wearing Olympic lifting shoes for the first time. You can see that's my attempt at a good push press. I have a real bad habit of not using my legs. So Hunter is trying to help me to figure out how to use my legs. He's very good at it. I can squat significantly more. So I have that leg and hip strength, but I just don't know how to put it together because I've never really tried. So that's what a lot of today was drilling out, trying to get that leg drive under me. The Oli shoes helped, but I had to really make sure that my weight was kind of on my heels. You can see I only partially do it there. I think that was 225. But, I can strict press these weights. I think I deleted the video, but the top weight I did today was 275. And, I dipped my legs a little bit, but it's mostly a pure strict press. And then we went for, oh, maybe this is it. Yep, this is it. And I didn't put my elbow sleeves on. And I basically just strict pressed it because that's what my body knows how to do. And the truth of the matter is I walked away from this mad that I couldn't just strict press 315 like that, which, turns out just not there yet. So this is my attempt at 315. I always feel I need to jump under the weight, but I still walked it out. I might have had my legs just a little bit too wide to really get under it there. So what we decided to do, drop the weight down and just do some practices. This is 154, which is stupid light, but I'm just trying to be able to get my legs under me and kind of get that rhythm. So we just did some sets of 5 with that. I think this is the set where it felt a little bit better. And yeah, I don't know if my legs were anywhere near. Oh, never mind. This is the football bar. So we switched over to a football bar, really worked on leaning back and just doing some presses. And these are sets of 10. This is for us practice for the log. When you're really grinding out a log press, you're leaned back like this. You're really in your upper back. And so it was nice to put lightweight on the football bar and just get some volume in there, which we both did in that lean back position. Felt really good. Really felt it in my shoulders and in upper back. So, and then Hunter's been big on this. We did it last week from more of like a shoulder press position, but the goal is to take some dumbbells and do what you can do 30 reps with. I definitely went with a weight that I was like, 30 reps, we'll have to see. But Hunter has to help me get them up because I suck at getting the weights up. But this is 100 pounds. The goal was tentatively 30 reps, but I'm going to be honest, I knew I wasn't going to get 30 reps. What I actually got here was about 19 reps, which, considering the 315 attempt and then all the back down work, I don't think it's too bad. 100 pounds for 19 reps. You can definitely see my bulk is underway. I'm trying to put some muscle size on my upper body and my quads, so I've been bulking pretty hard, and the bulking belly is popping out right now for sure on these sets. But yeah, we got 19 with hundreds. I'd say not too shabby. I then dropped down to 70 pounds here. So this is my second set of these. And this is a much more reasonable weight. I probably could have done 30. I don't think I actually got to 30 on this back down set, but it was definitely more in that range. And this should be good for building a lot of that shoulder and tricep endurance we need. And also just some hypertrophy. I've been really into the Russian lifter that's been getting popular on Instagram and all those places, Andrei Smayov. And, if you watch what he does, and he's like 330 pounds lean. I'm like 338 right now, not very lean at all. He does a lot of very high rep work, a lot of calisthenics for him, which works out to be the same way. But it's a lot of reps in those higher ranges. So not just your classical 3x10, 3x12, which don't get me wrong, I believe in the 3x10, 3x12, even 3x15. That's what I program for a lot of clients that are, beginner to intermediate lifters, because I think that's where you're going to make the best gains. And usually I use that as a progressive overload. So you'll start with whatever weight you can do, RP 8 or so, 3x10. Just try to increase the reps every week, but keep the weight the same. that's a really good way to start. So definitely for us, this going into these 20 rep ranges and stuff is it's going to be interesting to see if it does what we think it's going to do, which is a little bit of hypertrophy and a little bit of endurance training. And I think no matter what, the fallback is that it is going to be endurance training regardless. So even if it doesn't give us as much hypertrophy as you want, or I know even the old West Side barbell mentality was you would do these super high rep sets because they thought that it was really good for tendon strength, which it might be. There's evidence that supports that the extra blood flow is good for tendons, but also like I think tendons also need maximal load, so it's probably getting a good mix. But also, your body can't do, maximal loads over and over and over again every week, and it also doesn't necessarily want to just live in the same rep ranges. So I think you need to get a good mix between, near maxes on. They can even be on sets that are like 3, 4, 5, or even 8. Then also you got to live in that 3x10 hypertrophy classic zone, but also getting into those 20 rep ranges. It's good to be able to get all of them. And, one of the things me and Hunter were talking about today is like, there's so many variations when it comes to exercise and rep ranges, and like you just can't hit it all. And so what I would say, and I told him this, is my advice for a beginner or intermediate is to find a program that you like, that makes sense to you. Maybe you found some logic behind it or somebody sold you on why it works, and it really doesn't matter as long as you're willing to do it with a high amount of effort and just stick with that for a while. Now, me and Hunter being in the more advanced intermediate, lifters who've been doing it for a long time. I've been doing it for a long time. I'm about to turn 40 this week. Hunter's 22, but he's been competitive for a long time, doing weightlifting, doing shot put, and he's been around some of the best lifters that I've ever met. So for us, we can mix it up almost weekly, and we know where the progressions are coming. We know how to measure that out, even if we're not repeating the same exercises. For that beginner, it's almost important that you repeat the same exercise week to week and then over a long period of time, because that's going to be the easiest way for you to measure your progress, and your body needs to adopt that movement pattern, right? And I think right now that's one of the problems in lifting is that that's oversold. So you have so many powerlifters doing just SBD days over and over again because they believe that they're getting lots of practice with the motor pattern, but they're not spending enough time doing hypertrophy work or just changing up the angles so that your body can get stronger in different positions. And I really think that's something that's lacking. And, I know there was a time in powerlifting where West Side barbell, box squatting, maxing out, and having speed days was the only thing. And then there's the West of West Side, which is, I think Dan Green originally came out with that article titled West of West Side, where he explained that thinking only your hamstrings is the most important part is a little bit broken. The way that speed work works may not be exactly how it's described if you're not a multiply lifter, but there's definitely still a lot of wisdom in there, and those things can still be rotated in and rotated out. So, just throwing it out there, there's lots of ways to get there. And I think any system that you're going to do with enthusiasm, with effort is really what matters. So, keep that in mind and do what you want to do out there. That's what's important. And you can see we did just a ton of volume on these tricep press down or behind the necks. Actually, I think my coach Pete Rubish called this like a French press machine. French press is when you would do this with like an easy curl bar. This just has that cable behind there. It can be hit or miss for people's elbows. You can see I do it with my elbow sleeves on for sure. Hunter said he was feeling a little something in his brachials and his elbows when he was doing it, but we kept the weights light. So this is something that we've been hammering, I think partially because Hunter's better at it than me. So, it's good for him to pick an exercise I suck at and just mess me up on it. But no, truth be told, this is really good for overhead pressing. When you're working those rear delts and the trapezius muscle in your upper back, that's going to be really good for your stability, which, I can tell when I take 315 out and I try to overhead press it, a lot of what's failing is not necessarily your shoulders or your triceps. It's your upper back stability. It's that ability to hold the weight back there. It's stable enough so that you can grind through those reps. And that's kind of what I felt like. I got halfway up and it was really hard to stay in that grind. So yeah, I think this is going to be a big builder. It's definitely a weak point for me. And then we finished it up, or at least I did, with some lateral raises because honestly, I'm on a mission to just make my shoulders as big as freaking possible during this bulk. I'm not going to lie, they're kind of big to start with. I'm a big dude. I've got a big upper back and I've got big shoulders, but it's not going to hurt to have more size on my shoulders overall so I can increase that strict pressing. And here's what I ate today when I got home. So if you guys ever want like a day in the life of eating, let me know in the comments.